Next, we'll look at polynomials of the form x squared plus bx plus c, where either b or c are negative or both. In this case, we have x squared minus 7x plus 12, and we have that b is negative 7. And so in this case, we're going to have to be a little bit more careful about how we deal with the negative signs. So dealing with this case is exactly the same as it was before if everything is positive, except we have to be a little bit more careful to make sure that we get the negative signs correct. So as we see, our sum is negative 7, and our product is 12. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at all possible ways that we can get a product of 12. So we have 1 and 12, 2 and 6, 3 and 4. And our goal is to achieve a sum of negative 7. Well, to get a positive product, either we can do both numbers being positive or we can do both numbers being negative. But if both numbers are positive, that can't possibly give us a sum of negative 7. So the only way we're going to achieve that is if both numbers are negative. So if we throw in our negative signs here, and now what we're looking for is a sum of negative 7, and we see that what's going to work here is negative 3 and negative 4. And so this is going to factor as x minus 3, x minus 4. In the case where the constant term is positive, in this case it's a positive 12, then what we're going to be looking for is either both numbers positive or both numbers negative, and that's going to depend on what the middle term is. In this case, because the middle term was negative, then all of our numbers have to be negative. And so we're looking for two negative numbers that are going to add up to, in this case, negative 7. If we have a case where the constant term is negative, then we're going to have to change things up a little bit. Okay, so in this case, we have a sum of a positive 5 and a product of negative 6. Okay. For a second here, I'm going to ignore the negative sign and just come up with ways to find a product of 6. And there's only two ways that that can be done. So we can do 1 and 6, and we can do 2 and 3. It's very easy to look at this and see the 2 and the 3 there and say, oh, those add up to 5. That's what we're looking for. But that's not taking into account that our product has to be negative. Because our product is negative, that forces one of our numbers to be positive and the other to be negative. So a positive 2 and a positive 3 would give us the sum of 5, but it would not give us a product of negative 6. So since our sum is positive, when we add two numbers together, one of them being positive and one being negative, whichever one is larger is going to determine what the sign is. And since our sum is positive, that means the larger of our two numbers has to be the positive, the smaller of our two numbers has to be the negative. So these are going to be the positive numbers, these are going to be the negative, and now what we're looking for is if we add the two numbers together, we need to get a positive 5, and that gives us this one here. And so be careful of that. When the constant term is negative, we need one positive, one negative. So really what we end up doing is we're subtracting the numbers. So instead of being 2 plus 3 or 1 plus 6, we actually end up with 6 minus 1. Okay, so in this case, since our numbers were negative 1 and positive 6, we end up with x minus 1, x plus 6.